Hello and welcome to our program where each week we'll bring you a series of interviews with people educating and inspiring in the hot topics of health, wellbeing and lifestyle. For our first guest today we have Trudy Pavlovski, the Queen of Shadow Values, who will be talking to us today about embracing our shadow values. Welcome, Trudy.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here today, Linda.
What are shadow values for our viewers out there?
Viewers might be able to identify general normal values. So the traditional values of trust and love and respect, those nice values that you're totally happy to share with the world because they feel good. I work with the values on the flip side, which are the shadow values. So these are values that growing up, something's happened, we've been taught to be ashamed of wanting this value, and I illuminate those values. We bring them into the light because when you harness the power of the shadow values, what happens, you use these values to motivate you with your goals, and your life just can take off in ways that never before thought possible. So there's 10, and today obviously we don't have time to go through 10 of them. So I really wanted to share 2 of them today. So I wanted to talk about attention and validation, because when I work with people with these values and they embody it and they get it, their life really does start to transform. So I'll talk to you about attention first, because here we are on TV, like center of attention. So we've embodied this value, right? We feel good about getting attention. But I want to ask the viewers, how many of you out there secretly crave attention, to be seen, to be recognized, but you don't take the action to go out and do it? Especially if you're in business or you're wanting to change your life somehow, get a promotion, receiving attention when it feels good allows you to get what you really want. And then with validation, this is a really interesting one, because quite often when we're growing up and we're like little kids, we're always looking for approval from a parent or a teacher or an older sibling. But if we don't get that approval, we feel bad, and then we start looking for it further and further afield, and we lose trust in our own ability to make decisions for ourselves and to be okay going after what we want. So when we learn to invalidate ourselves internally and stop asking 20 people around us if what we want to do is okay, we just feel better. We start taking action from a place that's so much more inspired. And if we're in business or if we're looking to create something in our life, we get the momentum because we're not constantly having to check in with somebody else.
Trudy, we were talking off camera about imposter syndrome. So could you explain to our viewers something a bit more about imposter syndrome and what it is for them?
Imposter syndrome, which is a person's inability to believe in their own results, no matter how much they've studied, how much effort they've put in, no matter how many times people say good job. That ties in so closely with shadow values and downplayed their results. Chances are, if you're doing that and saying that to yourself, you've got imposter syndrome. And so what happens when you start embodying your shadow values, that little imposter syndrome voice, it just gets quieter and quieter and quieter in your mind, because your shadow values, when you can be comfortable with attention, can validate yourself, and some of the other ones, take control of your own life, honor your own ambitions, own your own superiority, be comfortable receiving money. When you build up all of those, the imposter syndrome stops, because you get comfortable being recognized for who you are. Because it goes back to our beliefs around what we have around who we are, how we show up, what we want to create in the life, and what we think is possible. And beliefs form in childhood, and they're based purely on our experiences, so they're very unique for everyone. And when you can look at your beliefs and see how they've formed patterns growing up and how they shape your life, then you can see these are my values, and they all tie together in a nice little bow. But if you want to start transforming these things, it's like, have a look at where you're putting the brakes on in your life, where you're saying, I can't possibly do that, or I can't receive that, or I'm not worthy. Because when you look at those patterns and those thoughts that you have in your head, that's when you can start creating the change. And it's not something that happens overnight. It's something that you chip away at every day. And you would start with the value of attention. And it's like, where do I not feel comfortable receiving attention? And one of the ladies I worked with, she didn't feel comfortable going out in a pretty dress and wearing lipstick. So she decided one day, because she'd received negative attention in the past, she decided that she was better than the past, and she wanted to reinvent the story that she was telling herself. So she got up one morning, she put on the nice dress, did her lipstick, did up her hair, and she walked down the street. And she'd made the decision when she was walking down the street to hold herself high, to smile at people, and be comfortable in that moment.
So with that education that you've received in your own life about imposter syndrome, about shadow values and how all of these things play out for you, what really inspired you to look further into your own life and how that existed there?
Yeah. I didn't have exactly a happy life, and there were times when I didn't want to be here anymore. And I got to a point in my life where I really had to make the decision, how do I want to feel? How do I want to show up? How do I want to be seen in this world? And what kind of legacy do I want to leave? And that took me on a journey of learning about life coaching, neurolinguistic programming, energy work. I've got so many qualifications, it's ridiculous. But it started with that decision to go, I want more. I deserve more. I'm worthy of more. I gave myself permission to be the person that I always knew I was here to be. In spite of the pain and the trauma and the disappointments, I decided to look beyond that and go, I'm here for so much more. And embracing all of those values, and it just changed everything. And so that's why I'm here to share that work.
And also, as a last takeaway for the audience, what would you say to them as a suggestion for them to take away from today?
One of the biggest lessons I learnt in life was that permission, it all starts with you. Now, I could have decided to stay miserable, but I decided I wanted more. So I gave myself permission, and then I looked at the decisions that I was making, and I decided to make different decisions. And from those decisions came smart choices. So for me, it's permission, decisions, choices.
Thank you, Trudy. And for more information about embracing your shadow values, please go to our website. Stay tuned, and after the break, the integrative health and wellness expert, Dr. Zara Chelik, is talking about hormonal health. Welcome back, and now we have Dr. Zara Chelik, our integrative health and wellbeing expert, and she's back with us to talk about hormonal health. So Dr. Zara, why is hormonal health important?
Look, hormonal health is very important because the whole communication in our body happens via our hormones. But today I'd like to focus and talk about female hormones, the whole estrogen and the whole progesterone and testosterone, and why is it important that we must make sure that they are actually balanced and they are in check. And today I'd like to really focus on that very much. I find in my clinical practice, women are not connected with their body and what their body is telling them. And they're not aware of what is happening around their cycle every month. I always tell my clients, us women, we go through 4 seasons in a month. And I normally use a lot of metaphors to explain our body to my clients. because at every different season we have different changes occurring in our body, and us women are not aware of it. And I will love people to really connect with the body, to understand what it is it's telling us through the symptoms that we may be experiencing. Remember, I've discovered and talked about how symptoms are feedback from our physiology to let us know what is not right in the body. So if a female is experiencing bloating or heavy bleeding or clots, retaining fluid and feeling puffy and can't fit into her clothes, then I want her to really pay attention to see that her physiology is giving feedback to let her know something is not functioning quite right in the body. So rather than masking the symptoms and taking either a pill or ignoring it completely, I will invite and encourage people to question and find the root cause of their symptoms, because as I said, always I say this right in our interviews, symptoms are feedback from your physiology to let you know something is not functioning quite right. So I find when those symptoms are going on, and it could also be relating to people feeling that foggy brain, that could be another symptom, indicating that hormones need some care and love. Foggy brain, feeling sluggish, irritable, snappy, that's a big one. I find females, particularly around ovulation to before their period, they do get snappy, they do get irritable, they cry for no reason. And normally they will be okay, but just that time they can really snap, and it is not them. It doesn't match their personality. So when that happens, I encourage, if anyone's watching or knows someone may be experiencing those symptoms that I've just mentioned, to really go in and connect with the body and fix it from the source, from the root cause. Because if we don't and we try to mask it, then it's not going to resolve the issue. So for that reason, I encourage women to connect with the body and understand the body and serve and correct what is not right, because we don't want to be having those symptoms and going through that every month and shifting and going through that seasons every month. And then, of course, going into menopause or perimenopause, there will be more challenges along the way. The other thing I would like our viewers to know, period pain is a big one, right? Many women think it is normal. In fact, it is not normal at all. There may be little signs that our cycles are coming when we're actually connected with the body, we know. But most of the time people think, and women that I've actually certainly worked with, it is normal. They think pain is a normal experience. It is not. So if it is painful, if you're missing a day out of your work or your schooling, I look after a lot of young girls, they vomit when they get their period and they think it is normal and they always had it. So they always think that's how periods are, but they are not. So the other thing will be, of course, pay attention to what foods you're eating. And in my clinical practice, I take my patients through a stool test, a saliva test, a urine test to really pinpoint and see the levels of hormones. So in my clinical practice, I encourage my patients to pay attention to the physical body. I get them to pay attention to what they're eating, especially between ovulation until their period, because they may also contribute to symptoms being elevated. That way they get to know their body and they connect with the body. I personally, if I'm working with someone one-to-one, I will do a stool test, I may do a saliva test, I may do a urine test, just to see how estrogen's behaving and their levels are, and then we can correct it from the root cause.
Great. So that's amazing. What would be your absolute top piece of advice then for our viewers before we go to break?
So I would like our viewers to know that if you are experiencing any symptoms related to your female hormones, whether it is the irritability, whether it is the snap, you're crying for no reason, or feeling depressed, or having period pains and cramps and discomfort, or clots, heavy bleeding, please do not ignore them. So connecting with your body and doing what it's telling you to do is where you begin. And also be gentle and kind that you are going through 4 seasons in a month, and you do a journal and take yourself through what you're going through every month, and to get to know your body better, so you are looking and taking care of it as well.
Well, thank you, Dr. Zara.
My pleasure.
And for more information on Dr. Zara Celik and hormonal health, then please go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And now we'll go to break, and after break we'll be back with more amazing guests. After the break, holistic health coach Steve Hall is talking about feeling at home. So stay tuned. Welcome back, and now we have Steve Hall back with us as part of the series on living a life of value and meaning. And today's topic is feeling at home. Welcome back, Steve.
Thanks, Linda. It's wonderful to be here again.
And today you're talking about feeling at home. So how important is it to feel at home?
Linda, it's so important, and I love this topic because it sums up in a feeling, I think. It's what I think of as home feels like. Home is a sense of belonging. You know, you really identify with where you are, and you know, it's the core of our being. You know, we've learnt who we are and why that's important, but it's also important to understand where we fit in, where we belong, where we feel at home. It doesn't have to be, you know, exactly the home you grew up in, but you need to feel at home somewhere, so it's hugely important.
And why is it important in today's world, do you feel?
Well, the world is changing, but Australia, I see that changing as well. You know, so much of Australia is a multicultural society, so it means a lot of people have left a land and a home somewhere else on a different continent to be here. That's step one. But now, you know, home ownership is something that is more like an investment and a way to grow an income at the same time and set yourself up for the future and all that. So home is no longer a house that you move into when you're young and you first get married and you keep building extensions on and it grows over decades. Now it's like we're more like hermit crabs, and we, you know, get a shell, and once we outgrow it, we move to another one and upgrade, and so it goes. So we can sort of lose that connection with where we might have felt we belonged, because our parents, they probably gave that sense of home to us. And when you go home, it's like, wow, there's a feeling to it. But later on in life, when you get to middle age or older, you know, your parents sooner or later are going to pass away, and you'll be challenged. And it's like, you could be searching for meaning and a belonging, and something's missing, you're not sure what, and it's this connection, this feeling of home. So it's really important that we got somewhere we can identify with it, as well as identify who we are. And that goes full circle. You know, you learn who you are as a person, discover what your values are, and that you're living your values, you get your identity and you understand who you are. But now you need to have a sense of belonging with it. So when you've got those values and you incorporate them every day into your everyday life, and that could be something like, a value could be having fun, or a value could be connecting with other people. Once you understand what your values are, you know, your top 5 or 10 values, you bring them into your life all the time, and you've got to protect them with we call it a boundary, but it's like understanding what makes you you. And so then you can disassociate yourself with any drama going on in life. You don't take on all the drama that's happening around you. You know who you are, and you can look at it and you can feel separate to it. It's like, I understand who I am now. There's drama there, there's someone in trouble. I can help them, but I don't have to get involved. I don't have to wear and take the responsibility of everything that's going on. I just take what's in my control. So doing that creates a sense of home in yourself. You start understanding who you are. And when you know that, you feel a lot more powerful, a lot more stable in life. And so no longer do you need somewhere like a home to identify with so that you belong there. It's like all of a sudden you can be in the middle of anywhere in the world, in the middle of any drama going on around you, and you'll feel a little bit more strong and calm in who you are, and you will have a sense of being at home. You've got all the memories that you're brought up with, all those lovely memories and emotions. You'll think of people that made you feel that way, but you will feel at home no matter where you are. It's like you're carrying it around with you. So it's very important.
Well, it's so important too, because so many people rent.
Yeah.
Not everybody has a home base that they could call their home.
Yeah.
You know, once you have to move house, it's like creating that new home, isn't it?
Exactly, and more people are renting nowadays for many different reasons, but it's like, isn't it so good to know that it doesn't matter where you are, what situation you're in, that you're going to feel at home no matter where you are. Like, it's really, really good way of living your life and feeling that certainty and sense of power. It's, I think we all need that.
And so what would be the thing you could say for our viewers that we get, one thing that they could do just to help themselves feel at home with themselves? And
this is the fun advice, you know. I don't like giving advice that's onerous or hard, you know, that people go, oh, I have to do that, like dieting, you know, you've got to stop doing something. The advice for feeling at home is do what you love, you know, which are your values. What you really value doing are the things that you love to do naturally and you want to experience all the time. So make sure you live more in accordance with what you love yourself and bring it to life. You are important, invest in yourself, make sure you do those things. Get a list of your values, sort it out. I can't recommend that highly enough. And do one of them every day, or all 10 every day, and watch your life explode. You know, you become very happy, very centered in who you are, and it's such fun to tick those things off at the end of every day, going, I really have done stuff for me. It's really important to bring the best version of yourself out in life, and this is how you do it.
So thanks for joining us for this series. It's wonderful to have spent that time and get all of these valuable tips for our viewers. And we'll finish the show for today and we'll see you next time. So if you have any more information on Steve Hall and living a life of value and meaning, then please go to his webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And we'll see you next week. If you'd like to know more about our show, please like our Facebook page and also subscribe to our YouTube channel.